from mobile, wireless, and the internet, including the Chinese?
I think that mobility creates democracy, Jim. And as Dan mentioned, what is really amazing is the power of the people. The power of the people, in my view, has never been better than with the capabilities that our industry has been able to bring to the table. The people are speaking throughout the world, and it's our technology that's allowing that voice to come through and to change countries and to change regions, and I think that's going to continue.
Okay, Dan Mead, before I came down, I tweeted. You have to tweet, right? Who doesn't tweet? Before I came down, and what I asked was, what should I ask to this terrific panel? Because it's very rare that you ever get these three most powerful people, perhaps, in wireless around the world together. Universally, the question was, why are we so far behind other countries? But it's not true, is it?
No, that's a myth. Especially when you look at 4G and what's going on with 4G, we're seeing great advancement in terms of broadband delivery and the enablement, and it puts a great responsibility on us in terms of the quality of the experience. But we're not behind, we're leading, and when you look at the ecosystem that's emerging now for 4G in particular, with the infrastructure providers, all of the OEMs, the operating system players, this is the most robust network in the world. So we're very proud of this LTE network.
Okay. Dan Hesse, how did we catch up? Because in history, we started, then we fell behind. What made it so that we are now regarded as the leader, and how can we get that story out to more people?
Well, I think it was really, and I have to give you, my competitor over here, and Apple, some credit for it. You know, I used to serve on the board of directors of Nokia, and which, of course, is a dominant cell phone provider, still is by far the largest in the world. But that really took data over devices and applications really took hold in the U.S. And so if you look at, you know, kind of jumping on Dan's comments, so we now lead not only in 4G, we overtook Japan last year to lead in 3G. If you take a look at the growth, which is operating systems, 75% of the OS, of the growth in smartphones came from North American OS systems. Apps, which is the fastest growing single area of growth in the industry, half the revenue is coming out of the U.S. So I think the iPhone phenomenon really started it, and you have all the, if you will, the Silicon Valley and the kind of competitive infrastructure that currently exists, the competitive carrier environment that exists in the U.S. Google got into the act of Android. Very, very quickly, I think in a period of roughly 3 years, the U.S. went from, I think it was a very fair criticism 3 years ago, I think undisputed now, the U.S. has come full circle from being the leader in 1G to dropping behind in 2 and 3G and now being number 1 again in 4G.
Hey, Ralph, when a couple conference calls ago, Ivan Seidenberg, CEO from Verizon, talked about how text messaging is such a giant industry. But no one saw it coming. He admits that no one saw it coming and no one saw it take over. Is text still growing like that? And what's the next text messaging? What are we going to do that we hadn't thought of? And what are you guys planning for? Is it going to be taken by surprise the way texting did?
You know, the beautiful thing about this industry is the innovation. And sometimes it's hard to see it. But what our industry has done, Jim, is has always been an enabler of that innovation to foster. As spectrum is made available, carriers develop the networks. As the networks are developed, handset manufacturers build the handsets, and then that brings the ecosystem together when the application developers and the content developers use the thing that they know best to bring those kind of innovations to market. So the video aspects of communication, I think, are going to be the next big wave. People will communicate not only via text and voice, but video, and video communications, I think, will be the next big wave.
Okay. Davey, when I look at the way that my bill is, and I am a Verizon wireless subscriber, and I look at how high it is, I think, why? I have 2 kids who's a 1960-year-old. It ain't me, believe me. Why is it that I have to subsidize people who are downloading movies every night? Why am I subsidizing people who are just complete data hogs? It's not fair. I want them to pay their fair share. I'm tired of paying for them.
Well, first of all, we appreciate your business. And understanding the value of being part of Verizon Wireless. When we look at the value proposition, right now we're all out there with unlimited data plans. And that has been very important to foster the growth of the data adoption as the smartphones have enabled that on the networks. So, we're going to continue to foster that, but, the whole industry is looking at should there be caps? Should we have metered billing? So it's more like, your water bill at home where you pay for what you use. So we're all looking at those things. Some of us have made moves, some of us haven't, but it's certainly an area of consideration for the industry.
Dan Heston, did you have to change your plans on what Sprint does if the other people start metering, start making a lot of money off the Netflix people?
Maybe not. The important thing for us is to differentiate with the end user or customers in a way that they prefer to buy. And if you look at the internet model, the internet at home, it's not metered. Now, clearly, landline is different from a technology perspective. It's not as limited, if you will, as wireless capacity is. So there are some differences. We look at what we call tonnage and usage very closely. We work with our content providers to try to make it use our network more efficient. We are looking at trends. So what we try to differentiate ourselves around is simplicity and value. We found, years ago, when I had an at&t logo on my chest in the late 90s when I was running at&t Wireless, we launched something called Digital One Rate. And what we found with that is customers will actually pay a premium for simplicity. Just, this is my bill. I don't want to worry every time I hit this button or that the meter's running. But on the other hand, the points Dan made are very real. You have to still make money and be economic and maybe have different rate plans for different parts of the market. So for now, we're monitoring usage very closely, and we are maintaining our unlimited position.
Ralph, we heard the head of the commission speak about the thing that is most facing the industry that he thinks is the single biggest worry, and it was the spectrum crunch. All right, how much did the spectrum crunch have to do with Sunday's events with T-Mobile?
Well, the Sunday event with T-Mobile, one of the key drivers was actually the need for additional spectrum. What we have found in our company, Jim, and we've been at the forefront with this, is that our data usage has grown 8,000% over the last 4 years. Few things in life grow 8,000% over 4 years. And as you heard the chairman and our own estimates say, it's going to grow 8 to 10x in the next 5 years. So I think what you saw announced Sunday actually helps to alleviate the spectrum exhaust that both AT&T and T-Mobile face in several major cities by allowing the networks to be combined and to better, more efficiently utilize that spectrum. So it's in the public interest that we solve that pending spectrum exhaust issue in major cities by this combination. That's one of the key tenets of the deal and one of the key benefits that I think it brings to the country.
Dan Heston, do you agree with that?
Well, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I think the FCC, the DOJ,
has been, I think, a place where innovators came together. It is a place where the leaders of the industry learn more and more about what's going on and how they can deploy it. Are you concerned that we could have a stifling of innovation if we had a lot more consolidation in this industry?
In my view, yes, I am concerned about it. If you take a look at, you can look at either wireless revenues or postpaid subscribers, which is the way most Americans buy the phone. Today, if you will, the big two have about 67% market share. If that transaction is allowed to proceed, it would be 79% market share in the hands of two providers. On the revenue side, it would increase, if you will, the top two to 74% of the market. I do have concerns that it would stifle innovation and get too much power in the hands of just two.
Dan Mead. Jamie, do you think that Verizon Wireless has a dog in this hunt?
We're certainly very interested in what's going on.
Everybody's interested.
If you look at the history of our company over the last 11 years, we built a foundation of great spectrum and great breadth of spectrum through many, many acquisitions, similar to what's being discussed here. So we build an inventory so that we can build our leading network on the best spectrum. We feel very good about our spectrum position as a result of these things. We'll be watching what goes on here. There may be some things market by market that are of interest, but we're very, very confident in our position, and we're going to be focused every day on doing a great job for our customers. We're not going to get distracted by
Did you look at buying T-Mobile, and did you pass on it because you felt that maybe it wouldn't pass the Department of Justice's muster?
We didn't think through that. We didn't think that there was a need. As I said, we've been through a series of great acquisitions and great integration into our company, and we're extremely confident in where we're at and in our assets, and that we can deliver for our customers.
Ralph, when I'm watching a movie, when I'm watching March Madness at work when I'm supposed to be working, when I'm watching MajorLeagueBaseball.com, my screen sometimes freezes. And I get very angry. I get angry because I say, well, it's because they don't have enough towers. Or I get angry because they say, what's the backhaul? I get angry because they say, it's my PC. Who's at fault? Why do things freeze?
Yeah, Verizon.
Say, is it because they're not spending enough with Cisco and Juniper? Is it because they don't have enough towers? Is it because there's something between the signal that makes it endemic and my device? When you guys sit around and say, okay, well, how do we move up in the rankings? How do we get more light? What do you say? Or is it just spectrum, spectrum, spectrum?
It's a combination of trying to predict the demand, Jim, which is almost unpredictable when you get, for example, people in an event like this that bring all their gear with them, try to forecast the demand, and having enough capacity to meet it at the right point in time is the key. So the traffic management in an environment that's constantly changing, constantly innovating, is probably the most difficult thing to do for our RF engineers today.
Okay, when I look at what I think is going to be the case with 4G, and I think that it will be, because of some of the things we talked about, so exciting on my iPad to watch program. And when you have people, younger people, who are not interested in current sports, okay, are not interested in watching that a football game that you can't watch, say, because of deals. I don't know why this current generation is very different from the appointment TV that we had when I was growing up. But why do they need cable if 4G is so good, Dan?
Well, it is a generational issue. I have two boys, 12 and 15, and there'll be the TV on the wall, which my generation I like to look at. They will be just as happy looking at either the PC or the cell phone. I think we are going to see a change where people like to watch things custom on their own device, and also tablets. You mentioned that give a really good viewing experience, and they're going to become much more high definition. They're smaller versus the smaller screen. And one of the we're working with device makers, as my two compatriots are here, with respect to the next generation of technology, whether it's tablets or phones. You're going to have cell phones that you can expand. So I mentioned the Kyocera Echo, which just has two screens, which is the size of a cell phone, but it kind of folds over and you can make the screen twice as large. Mm-hmm. You're going to see flexible and expandable screens, so you're going to have portable devices that you can carry like a phone that'll expand into a tablet-like experience when you want to watch media. And especially with the changing demographics and the young generation, I think it will very much change the way that young viewers, look at content. So the cable companies, I think, will have to move into wireless and other media, because they will want to be able to provide customers access to their content, whether it's via a wire in the house, you've got a lot of high-definition TV sets, or also take it with them.
Will we finally have what they have in Canada, which we could have one bill for all those devices?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that's the case. I think, these two guys are kind of vertically integrated in some way. The cable companies, one of the reasons they invested, for example, in Clearwater, which is a company that we own a little over half of, is they see 4G as a way of also distributing their cable content, and they may, for example, become what's called an MVNO in wireless.